What's going on, guys? It's your boy Boxing Facts for Fiction. I need you to do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon for more videos like this. I recently seen an interview, Pheno Boxing. It's like a Hispanic boxing channel. They were interviewing Daniel Jacob, and Daniel Jacob is out here saying he's in shock that Canelo Alvarez took the fight to fight him. He didn't believe it was gonna happen, but Daniel Jacobs is saying he's in shock that Canelo Alvarez is going to take the fight. I remember last year this fight was supposed to happen as well. Oscar De La Hoya, he did a few interviews. He made it known. He told the public when he was trying to make Tito versus Chuck Liddell, he made it known that he was pursuing Daniel Jacobs if Triple G wasn't going to take the offer. After Oscar De La Hoya did a few interviews saying he wanted Daniel Jacobs as their next opponent, Daniel Jacobs, he came out with a few interviews saying he wanted that fight as well. But then a few weeks later, Gennady Golovkin accepted the offer and Canelo GGG 2 was on, and that happened instead of this. So we got to see Canelo versus Triple G 2, and we know what happened in that outcome. Canelo completely dominated Triple G, beat him for 12 rounds convincingly this time, and took his titles. So now Canelo Alvarez versus Daniel Jacob is official. As you can see right there on BoxRec, this fight is scheduled for May 4th, 2019, Cinco de Mayo weekend. Daniel Jacobs, man. Daniel Jacob has been fighting undefeated fighters. But like I said, hats off to Daniel Jacobs, though, because he's been fighting a lot of undefeated fighters. Even though he lost to one of those undefeated fighters, which was Gennady Golovkin, in a close, controversial decision. You know, I thought he could have won that fight convincingly if he would have let his hands go a little bit more, because he kept pushing Gennady Golovkin back, but he didn't let his hands go enough to convincingly take the belt from the champion. So I didn't think he. But after he fought Gennady Golovkin in the close fight, everybody was like, Gennady Golovkin got exposed. Daniel Jacobs went on to fight another undefeated fighter in Luis Arias, who was 18-0. Well, nobody knew who Luis Arias was, but Daniel Jacobs ended up fighting this guy. And what was kind of a close fight. A lot of people thought Daniel Jacobs was going to go in there and knock out Luis Arias. But Luis Arias was able to go the distance with Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs then went on to fight another undefeated fighter, Machez Soluski. He was 26-0 at the time. He was undefeated and one of Daniel Jacobs' toughest fight. There were even people that said Daniel Jacobs probably lost this fight if it wasn't for the knockdown. I believe he knocked down Soluski. But it was a very, very close fight. And then after that, Daniel Jacobs fights another undefeated fighter in Sergey Durianchenko. But this guy was hella inexperienced. This is a guy that was used to train with Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs trained with him because they had the same trainer. And Sergey Durianchenko, I thought it was a cherry pick by Daniel Jacobs based on the fact this guy only had 12 fights. But Daniel Jacobs did what he had to do. Now he's fighting Canelo Alvarez. But guys, I feel like Daniel Jacobs is making a big mistake, man. He's saying he's shocked Canelo Alvarez took the fight. I feel like he's underestimating Canelo Alvarez. I feel like this would be his downfall. Canelo Alvarez will go in there and put on a show, because Daniel Jacobs is thinking because he's the bigger, longer, more rangier guy, he can go in there and dominate Canelo Alvarez. I mean, Canelo Alvarez can go in there and make this fight look one-sided just because Daniel Jacobs is underestimating Canelo Alvarez. I feel like it's the wrong move for Daniel Jacobs to underestimate Canelo Alvarez. Daniel Jacobs, he went in there against Gennady Golovkin. He probably overrated Gennady Golovkin, but he's underrating Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is a much better boxer than Gennady Golovkin. The angles Canelo Alvarez take, Gennady Golovkin don't take it. Gennady Golovkin is just straightforward up and down. No special. So for Canelo Alvarez to be underrated by Daniel Jacobs and Gennady Golovkin overrated, I think it was just because of the power and the size. I feel like this would be the downfall for Daniel Jacobs. I feel like Canelo Alvarez will go in there and box circles around this guy and make this fight look easy. I mean, it could be a tough fight. Depends on what Canelo Alvarez shows up. I mean, Canelo is a slow starter sometimes. But I was shocked to see Daniel Jacobs do the interview saying that Canelo Alvarez, that he was shocked Canelo Alvarez took the fight. How are you shocked Canelo Alvarez took the fight? Canelo Alvarez fought Gennady Golovkin twice already. Beat Gennady Golovkin. Canelo Alvarez has fought guys at the highest level. He's beaten guys. He's beaten legends. Now we're gonna go ahead and look at some of the people that Canelo's fought, So for Daniel Jacobs to say he's shocked that Canelo Alvarez is fighting him is kind of ridiculous. Canelo Alvarez has been in there with guys like Alfonso Gomez. He's fought guys like Kermit Cintron, Shane Mosley, Josecito Lopez. This is the same Josecito Lopez Keith Thurman is coming back to fight. Canelo knocked his ass out. The fact that Daniel Jacobs was shocked Canelo took the fight still has me puzzled. Canelo's been in there with guys like Carlos Baldomero. He's okay. He's fought Kermit Cintron, Alfonso Gomez, Ryan Rhodes, Matthew Haddon, Shane Mosley. Let's get to some big names. He fought guys like Shane Mosley. He won an easy unanimous decision. He knocked out Josecito Lopez. Canelo beat up on Austin Trout, and this was an undefeated Austin Trout. He was 26-0 when he fought Canelo Alvarez. And then right after Austin Trout, Canelo Alvarez fought Floyd Mayweather Jr. After he beat up on an undefeated fighter in Austin Trout, he went to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr. And he lost a close decision, but it should have been a unanimous decision, but he still fought him. And what did Canelo do after his first loss to Floyd Mayweather Jr.? He went and fought Alfredo Angulo. He beat on Alfredo Angulo. He knocked him out. He fought Erislandy Lara. He beat Lara. He fought James Kirkland. Viciously KO'd James Kirkland. He fought Miguel Cotto, another legend, beat him up. Canelo then went on to fight Amir Khan, which is a fight that should never happen. Beat up on Amir Khan. Then he fought Leon Smith. He beat up on Leon Smith. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Then he went on to fight Gennady Golovkin. Then he fought Gennady Golovkin again. Then he fought Rocky Felton. And now he's fighting Daniel Jacobs. Is Daniel Jacobs serious, man? This is a guy that's been fighting tough fights his entire career. How can you be shocked? Daniel Jacobs' first real test should have been against Peter Quillin. But Peter Quillin, he got caught early. So Daniel Jacobs passed that test with flying colors. Other than Peter Quillin, I don't know who else. Fanes Martirosyan, Gennady Golovkin steamed through that guy. So his real test and only test to this date is Gennady Golovkin, where everybody thought it was a close fight. But that's his only real test. But somehow, Daniel Jacobs is the #1 middleweight in America right now. He currently holds the IBF middleweight championship that Gennady Golovkin forfeited. Well, gave up because he didn't want to fight Sergey Derevianchenko for some reason. Oh yeah, the only reason was because he wanted that bag. He wanted to fight Canelo Alvarez for more money, so he didn't fight Derevianchenko. Daniel Jacobs went on to fight Sergey Derevianchenko, and I felt like it was a cherry pick of a fight because the guy only had 12 fights. There's no way you should be fighting the #1 middleweight in America with only 12 fights. That should have been an easy fight, but the fight was closer than what everybody thought it was going to be. Daniel Jacobs couldn't knock out Derevianchenko. He went in there and got the victory. He won the IBF championship, the vacant On the other hand, Canelo rematch Gennady Golovkin and beat Gennady Golovkin convincingly, even with a leg he just had surgery on. Canelo Alvarez had just had surgery on his leg. I mean, you can tell his footing wasn't 100%. This should have been a Canelo Alvarez that Gennady Golovkin should have wiped the floor with. But Canelo Alvarez bite down, went in there and walked Gennady. Canelo Alvarez didn't move too much in this fight because his foot, man. He had just had surgery in April before he fought Gennady Golovkin in September. I mean, he had just had surgery, so he couldn't really move around too much. So that entire fight, he said, man, Gennady Golovkin, you a knockout artist. You're going to knock me out today. If you don't knock me out, I'm going to walk you down, win this fight. And that's exactly what Canelo Alvarez did. Walked them down. Canelo Alvarez was the true Mexican that night. Even though he has a lot of boxing skills, he could have boxed his way to victory again. Maybe based on the fact that he had that leg injury, that leg surgery, caused him to fight toe-to-toe and walk his man down. He showed Gennady Golovkin, man, I can walk you down, and I can also box circles around you. Canelo Alvarez dominated Gennady Golovkin and took all his belts. And Canelo Alvarez wants to be great, man. He went up to super middleweight, took a WBA belt from Rocky Fielding, and now he wants 3 of the major sanctioning body belts in the middleweight division. And he has his eyes set on Daniel Jacobs. That fight is scheduled for May 4th. I think Daniel Jacobs is in over his head. He's underrating Canelo Alvarez. But he then went on to say Canelo Alvarez is a legend, a living legend. He calls Canelo Alvarez a living legend, but then he shocked Canelo Alvarez chose to fight him. It makes 0 sense, guys. What is Daniel Jacobs getting out of trying to play Canelo Alvarez, trying to downplay this man? Just give the guy his just dues, give him his credit. I mean, you was one of those guys who thought he lost to Gennady Golovkin in the first fight. And now you're underrating this guy and you're going to pay for it. Canelo Alvarez will dominate Daniel Jacobs. Guys, Daniel Jacobs will lose this fight because he's underrating Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez will go in there and put a boxing clinic on Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs' biggest problem is he does not go for the kill at the highest level. Once he feels Canelo Alvarez's power, he's going to get on his back foot. He's going to start pedaling backwards. He's going to try to start boxing. But Canelo Alvarez is the better boxer. So it's like there's nowhere to run for Daniel Jacobs. He's going to be in there. He's going to be shocked. Man, this small Mexican dude is outboxing me, hitting harder than me, and he's physically almost as strong as me. Canelo Alvarez is very strong, guys. Do you see his calf muscles? Do you see his legs? That's where all the power comes from. Canelo Alvarez is a strong, stocky. This is the same Canelo Alvarez that was able to bully Gennady Golovkin in the first 2 fights. In the 2 fights they fought, he bullied Gennady Golovkin. Maybe not too much in the first fight, but the second fight, he bullied the boogeyman in the middleweight division. Canelo Alvarez bullied him, took his belts. This is the same Gennady Golovkin that was saying, give me my belt. And you fanboys were saying Canelo Alvarez is a punk for vacating the WBC belt. Now the tables have turned. Canelo Alvarez is the one going around. He's trying to be like Anthony Joshua, going around collecting these belts, man. He has 2 of the major belts already. He's gonna get the IBF belt from Daniel Jacobs, because I believe he's gonna win that fight. And he's gonna go ahead and fight Demetrius Andrade and take the last 4 belts, the last belt to have all 4 belts. Canelo Alvarez is chasing legendary, man. He's chasing that Floyd status, man. But if he is somehow able to become undisputed middleweight champion of the world, he's pound for pound the best fighter in the world right now. He has the best record in boxing right now. When I say best record, meaning best resume. So he's gonna be that guy. with Canelo having the best resume in boxing right now, if he's somehow able to beat Daniel Jacobs, which I believe he will, go ahead and fight Demetrius Andre, take his belt. We can't argue who pound for pound the best fighter in the world is. That's Canelo Alvarez, guys. There's no debating that. There's no arguing that. Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in the world when he beats Daniel Jacobs and if he gets a shot at Demetrius Andre. Like I said, Daniel Jacobs will lose this fight because he's underestimating Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is going to have 3 of the major belts. He's going to take that IBF belt from Daniel Jacobs, and he's going to take that WBO belt from Demetrius Andre. They're all with DAZN, so all those fights are possible.